Hello, everyone. My name's Kim Miller. I'm the Executive Director and the founder of FemArt Organization. We are a nonprofit 501c3, and we promote women in the fine arts. And we are so excited to be introducing you today to Michele Katz, who we are interviewing for our upcoming virtual show, Where the Wild Women Go. And I would like to start off our interview today, Michele, with asking you if you could explain to everyone what influenced your art at the beginning and what motivates you to create art.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks for having me on here. So I have a little bit of a traditional yet non-traditional start. My parents love art, and growing up, we were surrounded by art in the home. They took us to art shows and galleries and museums, and wasn't my favorite thing to do. But at some point, the tables turned a little bit, and I started to enjoy it. But one of the most impactful parts of growing up and being at these shows, my dad always has a camera with him. He had one then, he has one now, and he taught me how to use it. I wasn't even a teenager yet. And I remember being amazed at the ability for a camera to take a picture, for you to see something and capture it in a fraction of a second. And to this day, that's what drives my photography, is that moment that everything comes together. And through the years, I've had other, I've met artists, their stories inspire me to create, and my family, like I said, my parents, my children inspire me. They both appreciate the visual arts. And my partner, Christy, she actually inspired me to pick up my camera again after years. And it was Christy and my mom who really encouraged me to start sharing my art with others, getting it out of my camera, my laptop, my phone.
That is wonderful. That is really great. And it's wonderful when people who are around you love you and they can see that you have a gift with your art. And FemArt's been very privileged to have your art, some of your amazing photography in our art shows. And we're just so happy to have you in this show. So I would like to also talk about, you mentioned that you were fascinated with the moments that were captured by a camera, that fascinated you, and that also brought you into maybe appreciating art in a different way than you had when you were taken to all those museums and galleries. Can you share with us a little bit more about that fascination with capturing moments with a camera?
Well, it's more than just, capturing a moment and making it last, but it's looking at the subtleties of every moment. And in these subtleties of every moment and every choice we make, beyond photography in our life, it has so much impact on who we are and who we become. And I choose to use photography to explore that by making conscious choice to capture that exact moment when light, composition, timing, technology all come together in that fraction of a second. And by clicking the shutter, that's my choice in the moment. And just like anything else, we have so many opportunities throughout the day to make choices in a fraction of a second. And those choices build and make us who we are, and reach our goals and decide what we're going to do.
That is great. And it's interesting, when I was in art school at the University of North Florida, they talked about art history, and it was kind of interesting that they said that there is often contemplation of whether photography is art. And I believe with all my heart and soul, it is art, because it is, even though you're using a camera, the camera is no different than a brush or any other tools that we use to transition something. And I thought it was really important what you just said about your choice. And that's what artists do. We make choices. We make choices of whether to use certain colors. we make choices of how much exposure to give to an art piece, and whether it be black and white or in color. And technology and everything that happens today, with digital art and everything, there are still choices to be made, and that's where the artist is making those choices, and the actual camera does not make choices. The camera is a tool, but not that decision maker. And that's what I love about your comment about photography. And we also are facing a different kind of world today. When you talk about technology, you talk about the advancements, but also with the current pandemic, and now the United States is also being seen all over the world with current events of social injustice. How important do you think your voice is in the larger spectrum of the world as far as your photographs? Do you believe that your photographs have a voice in the world when we are being seen as artists throughout the world?
I do, and mostly it goes back to being inspired to make choices in that moment. And the beauty of art, of any medium, is that it transcends all boundaries and political, social lines, economic lines. Art speaks to us through our hearts and our souls, and we all share that. We're all humans, no matter where we're from. When I was 13, I had the opportunity to do an interchange program, and I was in Japan for a month, living with a family in Nara. And being abroad just really gave me an opportunity to observe other cultures. And that's actually where I took my first photograph that won any sort of award. I don't do it for the awards, but it's amazing when you're recognized. And it was an international Kodak Snapshot, International Snapshot Awards. And I took the picture of this Japanese girl who was on a crowded train. And I was just, her eyes, her body language, everything just captured me, you know, in my heart. And I wanted to capture that on camera.
Beautiful. That is really impactful, because you now have spoken about being in another country, around another culture, and how that influenced you. And now your art can influence others, and others can see that moment with that little girl that impacted you, and now that little girl can impact so many others. And that was beautiful. I love how you express your art. You're an amazing artist. I'm really very honored to have you in our organization. I would also like to ask you about what motivates you to create when you go into the so-called dark room, or when you're developing or anything. I've been asking all of the artists this one question, and it's kind of our final question, just to let people get to know you better. What beverage do you like to drink? Would you prefer something caffeinated with like coffee and tea? Or do you prefer an alcoholic beverage to relax you and calm you? Where does the Michele Katz, the wild woman, prefer to begin her art process with a beverage?
Okay, so I'm sure my parents will be watching this. Well, they know better. I'm not a wild woman. I've calmed down. So I think there's a time and place for all sorts of beverages. I do start my day with a cup of coffee, and at least a couple times a week I end my day with some wine or a little bourbon.
I love it. Well, and this is where I like to do a cheers.
But for now, I make sure I get all my water in during the day. So cheers.
Oh, I also have water. Say cheers.
You know something, regardless of what, do you have bourbon? Because I mentioned that.
I don't have a bourbon, but I do have a wine glass. But if I had a bourbon glass, I definitely would be doing a cheers with that. So, and I agree. There's moments in every artist's life we could use any mixture of any of those beverages to either jumpstart us or to calm us down or whatever. And I know that you are thinking you're not a wild woman, but I think you're a wild woman. And I think that is the biggest compliment any woman can get. Is wild just means unrestrained, unchained, and just able to create and to put forth yourself in public domains like this art show. And where the wild women go is very important for, I think, all women to realize that there's those wild sides that we have, that we're lucky to be able to voice those. And I love your artwork. I hope everyone enjoys it all over the world. So thank you, Michele Katz, for being with us today.
Thank you. And because of you and FemArt and the direction you're taking everything in, I am starting to resemble those remarks of being a wild woman.
Thank you, wild woman, Michele Katz. And have a good one. And we will see you in the art show of Where the Wild Women Go. That will be our virtual show. And we're hoping to launch it Wednesday, the 10th of June. Thank you.